Good morning, and welcome to Redeemer Lutheran Church in Columbia, South Carolina, where we are part of the LCA. I'm Pastor Gary Lodeholt. When you think about people in the Bible who were friends, David and Jonathan are likely the first ones who come to mind. David was the shepherd boy who had been brought into King Saul's court because of his courage and heroism, but also because of his skill at making music, which often soothed King Saul's mental chaos. David would play and sing, and Saul would calm down and become rational again. What is striking is that King Saul's son, Jonathan, and David developed a close friendship. They loved one another like brothers. All this, however, was to Jonathan's detriment. Jonathan was heir to the throne as King Saul's son, but it was more and more evident that the throne would go to David. Somehow that never stood in the way of their friendship. True friendship is like that. It celebrates and focuses on the good of the other person rather than the self. This week I plan to look at some friendships in the Bible. I wish I had come up with the title for the overall theme, Godbuddies, but in truth I found it in a website about friendship in the Bible that was called that, and it's a great name to talk about friends in the Bible. It might also help to define it right up front. That website, Godbuddies, quotes theologian Jonathan Holmes to define biblical friendship. Biblical friendship exists when two or more people, bound together by a common faith in Jesus Christ, pursue him and his kingdom with intentionality and vulnerability. Rather than serving as an end in itself, biblical friendship serves primarily to bring glory to Christ, who brought us into friendship with the Father. It is indispensable to the work of the gospel in the earth and an essential element of what God created us for. Now, most of the friendships we will talk about this week will come from the Old Testament, so obviously they don't point to Christ directly, but they do point to the saving work of God among us. Also this week, like I did today, I will introduce each day by describing briefly one of David's friendships. So today, we want to focus on the friendship between Moses and Jethro. Frankly, you might not even have known there was someone in the Bible named Jethro, but he's a wise and enigmatic figure. First, we need to say that he was more than Moses' friend. He was also Moses' father-in-law. You may remember that as a young man in Egypt, Moses saw an Egyptian taskmaster beating a Hebrew slave and ended up killing the Egyptian. Fearing for his own life after that, Moses fled across the Sinai Peninsula to the land of Midian, where Jethro lived. Jethro was a priest who somehow seems well aware of God and serves God. Moses gets hired on by Jethro, works as a shepherd for Jethro for 40 years, and along the way he marries Jethro's daughter, a woman named Zipporah. After 40 years, when Moses encounters God in the burning bush and is called to go back to Egypt to free his people, he consults with Jethro, who encourages him to go. To keep them safe, Jethro keeps Zipporah and their children there in Midian with him while Moses goes to Egypt. After the people were freed, Jethro hears what God has done through Moses, and Jethro sends word to Moses that he is coming to him with Zipporah and their 2 sons. Moses went out to meet his father-in-law and bowed before him and greeted him with a kiss. Theirs was a loving and respectful friendship. But Moses had a problem. He was working himself to the bone night and day, trying to administer this nation of people he had brought out of Egypt. He took on responsibility to make decisions, resolve disputes, and manage all the needs of all the people. Jethro took one look at all that Moses was doing and knew that it wasn't sustainable. So Jethro called Moses aside and offered some guidance. "This is too heavy for you," he said. And he advised that Moses establish others to serve under him, to oversee the smaller things, leaving Moses freedom to lead the nation God's way. Moses took his advice to heart and listened to Jethro and did as he suggested. I think that Jethro was his father-in-law, to be sure, but the fact that Moses listened implies that they had more of a relationship than that. Their relationship was one of friendship and respect as well. Moses listened to the advice of an older man, knowing that Jethro had life experience and that his words were given in love of Moses and for his good, not to mention the good of the nation. Jethro, on his part, had to feel close enough to Moses to be able to speak openly and freely. That's another mark of their friendship. Moses received constructive criticism in a spirit of humility. He put aside his pride and desire to be in control. He wasn't argumentative or defensive. He realized the truth in Jethro's guidance. Then the third mark of the friendship between them was that they worked together to come up with a plan that addressed the issues. Good friends offer wise counsel. Good friends listen to each other, knowing the words are spoken in love. They were Godbuddies, together seeking the way and will of God. I hope you have a friend like that. I hope you are a friend like that. Thanks for watching, and remember to let this day belong to God.